fiscal stimulus that at least equals the Fed's current level of 80 billion a month of purchases.
Yeah.
All right. Then, and we've got God knows how many millions of people that are now and or will become structurally unemployed. We have a consumption problem. So if the fiscal stimulus doesn't, at a bare bones minimum, equal what the Fed is removing from the system, we're going to have a liquidity problem, probably a financial market problem, and a rally in the dollar.
Okay, so.
And that's my end game right here, is a rally in the dollar that nobody's expecting.
Well, okay. That would be the case, but I would then, and this is what Lacey Hunt fears, because what does he say? That they monetize their liabilities, right? And it's what,
yeah.
what Chris Whalen would say, they become a spender, not a lender, which reverses everything that Paulo has said.
Well, I think they would become a spender if they implement your social justice idea and buy all the crappy credit card debt.
Massively, that's right. So, see, that's why they can't afford a dollar rally, and that's been my, pushback at Lacey Hunt. With great respect, but it's a discussion I always believe worth having, for that reason, because they will go to the extreme. They will go to the extreme to prevent that. A dollar rally right now, and there was an article last night in the FT, which I thought was a pathetic article. I thought they had a lot of it backwards, and I was reading the comments to them, and there were a lot of other people who felt the same way. I thought it was a terrible article, that they really didn't understand what was the title of the FT piece. And then I'm going to.
I read it. That's when my eyes rolled back in my head and I fell asleep.
Ira, I wonder if maybe that's why Mnuchin is hanging on to so much cash.
Yeah, maybe.
So there's some interesting dynamics that are in play right now. And I've been seeing a withdrawal in demand from the stock market for about 2 weeks now, and it's intensifying. And every time I see that, it's a prelude to some sort of a drawdown.
So basically, what was that thing, Ira? 2019 when you guys did that interview? It's the same thing going on now that was going on then. It's 46 names. Here, he's looking for that article, so am I.
Yeah, Judd, the setup that I'm seeing right now is the same one I saw in August and September of 2018, and it's the same one I was seeing in December, January of this year.
Yeah.
So I'm not taking any chances.
Yeah, and we actually, Ira and Andrew and I were talking about it last night, because Ira brought up the SPU bonds. And then we were looking at that, and then capital flows and timing, because let's see, Larry Williams has a top the 22nd or 23rd of September. Quad witching's the 18th, and then typically, it's the same playbook every quarter. It's the third
Yeah.
quarter. Either going into the fourth quarter, the first week in October, sets up the game. You know, either you're going to break or you're going to rally to the moon. And I don't think it happens before then, Angelo.
Now, the only thing that bugs me is today's August 31st, and everybody that wants to get paid is going to do their darndest to keep this thing propped up going into the close today.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can't sell it on a day like today, and then tomorrow you got to see who buys. You know, if you were going to buy, and I wanted to buy for people, I would have bought today, not tomorrow.
No, I'm going to, you know, later in the day, depending on what I see with the dollar, I'll either take down some of my gold exposure or I'll hedge it. I already sold half of my GDX that I put on all of last week. That was a great trade. I took half of that off, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do about my tech. I might take half of that off because I'm seeing rising volatility in the NASDAQ 100. I'm seeing rising volatility everywhere. I'm seeing it in gold. I'm seeing it in the miners. Volumes declining. That's not what you want to see when you've got rising vol literally across the board, right? The MOVE index, all of last week, was declining, and you know we got that knee-jerk reaction from the Fed's from Powell's pronouncement on Thursday. It's a typical reaction, right? And if Lacey Hunt and everybody are right in their thesis, you know, the trade's going to be long bonds again for capital gains.
Yeah, and you know what? I just can't see it here. I'm going to be, you know, as I said to David Rosenberg, you know, I'm the one, I can do bond math, but I'm going to tell you what, I still say that the only reason he got bailed out on that view was because of COVID. Because if you go back,
I was going to say, Ira, I took off half of my tips position too.
Yeah, because of COVID, the bonds returned that 25% he talked about. But if you look to see what was starting out in January, that play was not going to work. And when David Rosenberg and I discussed it, it was either, I think it was in December that we had that discussion. And I, you know, and he took me to task, and rightfully so, about it. But I still say that we'd be looking at much higher yields on the long end had COVID. You know, I'll make my own counterfactuals too, you know, but I'll go that route.
All right, so here, Ira, let's just keep it super simple as far as overall big picture alpha generation is concerned, okay?
Yeah.
So as of this very second, TLT is up 19.1% for the year.
Okay.
SPY, including dividends, as of right now, I'm going to round it up to 8%. Okay, so you know, 17 versus 8. You know, it's all about generating alpha, and you know, getting the timing right.
Absolutely. Listen, I'm pissed that I don't have any long end. You know, I paid a dear price for that. I've had to go out and search for other things. You know, in the aftermath of the March collapse of especially of commodity prices and commodity stocks. So there were things. So I was been able to overcome it and do better. But yeah, would I have loved? Would I have loved to be you know, to reap that 19% return? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I laugh, Ira, when people say, "Oh, I can't earn any interest on bonds." I just laugh.
Well, again, you know what? And I had a lot of people who listen to me, who read the blog. 2019 was a very good year for them because they were long the 2-year debt instruments. Very good year.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
2 year
Yeah.
was a far better place than the long run. And that was my point in that whole discussion. Yes, COVID has had a massive impact, but with what I see here, it's the last place. And I think people who are holding on to that position are going to be sorry.
I mean, I've got a pretty big position in the 2 year, and I have since it's been a year and a half. It's been I can't believe how much money I've made on this stupid trade. I wasn't expecting to make any. It was just a place to park some cash for a little while.
Yeah, it was really like the perfect investment because you got probably about because I can tell you what I was getting. I just had one that came due, so I was at about 210 basis points, which wasn't bad. And
yeah, and now we're down at 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was not expecting those kinds of capital gains, quote unquote, in the freaking 2 year.
No, exactly. And I said, okay, I'm willing to do that because I don't want the duration risk.
Yeah. See, I was on the other side of that. I was long, the long bond, most of 2019. Yeah, actually all of 2019.
Hey, if you made money, I applaud you. It wasn't a trade that I could sink my teeth into because and look at, I just put up. If you look at the long end of the debt market in December of 2019, I'm looking at the daily chart going back, all the way to 2000. So in December of 2019, it closed out on, basically, almost 6-month lows in the futures. So yields were high, anticipating exactly what was starting to unfold, which was commodity prices heading higher and the dollar heading lower. And we saw that start to unfold the first 2 weeks of the year. Didn't last long.
You know what? I'll tell you what I can't figure out. What's worse, additional stimulus or continued QE?
Well, when you say stimulus,
I realize what I just said is kind of screwed up.
No.
All right.
Yeah. Are you talking fiscal?
But I think you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Are you talking fiscal stimulus or monetary stimulus?
Fiscal.
You're okay. Now that's where we're at right now. So if you get that combined thrust, you will get some of the stuff that we talked about, which is then, and if Clarida, I didn't read his speech, I just read the headlines. He talks about yield curve control being in the toolbox. Well, it's in the toolbox because if inflation were to rise and all of a sudden the bond vigilantes that Barry Ritholtz doesn't believe exist start to exert some pressure on the market, the Fed is going to have to answer the call or have it all blow up in their face.
I mean, how would the Fed implement yield curve control? Would they do it like Japan, where they just literally flatten the curve?
Oh yeah.
Or do they buy the long end or buy the short end?
Buy the long end. And I'll tell you, we're on the bid. So go ahead. You want to sell it?
I mean, this is the craziness that we have to deal with. It's unbelievable.
But this is what they've created. They own this.
They've created a Frankenstein.
They have built a Frankenstein. And I guess we'll hear from Frau Blucher tomorrow, Leo Brainerd.
Oh, God.
Or today, later, I don't know. But let me, because I've made a comment that if Biden wins, Lizzie Warren will be the Secretary of Treasury.
Well, you know what? I would agree with you, except just one caveat.
Okay.
The caveat is if the Senate ends up with, let's say, 51 Democrats and 49 Republicans,
yeah,
the governor of Massachusetts is a Republican or a Democrat?
Republican.
Republican. So if Lizzie Warren gets plucked,
Yeah.
her Senate Democratic seat gets to be filled by who?
Yeah, but be careful with that one.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. You know,
By,
like
by Republican.
I just.
Okay, but here's where I'm going to take you right now. Okay, because I just posted this to a Slack to the guys that talk. This is an article in today's FT or tomorrow's FT, and it's an interesting, very interesting article. And here's the title of the article: Joe Kennedy learns this is not his grandfather's Democratic Party. Okay.
That's pretty funny.
Well, there's a very contested Democratic primary right now in Massachusetts for the Senate seat, with Joe Kennedy III running against a warhorse of the Democratic establishment, Ed Markey.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Okay, well, at one point, Joe Kennedy was kicking his ass, but now Markey is up in 3 different polls as we come to the, okay? And who's supporting Markey? AOC. A very interesting and important article, by the way. And so he's getting, so Pelosi, here I'm reading, Pelosi, we're backing, and John Lewis, we're backing Kennedy, but Mark is being backed by progressives such as Elizabeth Warren and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Okay?
You know, but if the Senate ends up 52, 53, 54, you know, with the Democrats in the majority, then what I just said is irrelevant.
Well, okay, I'm not even going to go there. And, you know, Massachusetts, they may have a Republican governor, but Massachusetts is a funny state. And if people, you know, I just think that she becomes the Secretary of Treasury. Now we're in a whole different realm. Because I think those are some of the deals that are being made right now.
Yeah.
And let me raise this issue too. So if let's say that Markey wins, right? Right?
Okay. Yeah.
So then he wins the Senate seat back. He gets reelected. Now Joe Kennedy, and the article talks about this, might wind up with Warren's seat. Now think about
so that means the governor would have to appoint him.
Well, it's tough to you know, not entertain the Kennedys in Massachusetts, by the way.
All right.
This
I mean,
gets
I could see that, but you know, could you see a Republican governor appointing a Democrat?
Oh, really? I didn't see, but I read about 6 or 7.
I mean, anything's possible, sure.
I just read about 6 or 7 or 8 mainstream Republicans, people who I actually respect, but not so much after speaking at the Democratic convention, right? You do the math.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see the article about the former?
I mean, but
Did you see the article about the former governor of Montana?
No.
Who's a Democrat? He's running against the Republican, and he's up in the polls. So they lose the Republicans lose a traditionally Senate seat they've always had. So that seat's in play.
Yeah.
And this guy.
I mean, look, Ira, whatever it ends up being, it ends up being. You know, we'll just have to trade accordingly. You know.
Right now.
If I think we all agree here, because we've discussed this in the past, is that if Elizabeth Warren gets plucked and gets put, you know, at anywhere, Treasury, wherever, she's not going to be kind to Wall Street unless, unless she's, a master at deception.
What, Angela, did you catch Leon Cooperman's comments this morning?
I saw him say something, but I had him on mute.
Basically, it boiled down to one thing. Two comments. Trump is of low character, and Biden needs to give me a reason to vote for him.
All right.
That was the end of the conversation. So here's a guy that he said, I like the policies of the Republicans. I don't like this man. I think he's of little or no character. And I need Biden to present his plans and convince me that I should vote for him.
Right. Judd, I just had this, I'm having this discussion right now. I said, this comes down to policy. So you better have some policy out there.
Right.
Well, Leon Cooperman needs to be careful about when he's talking about character.
Yeah.
Well,
okay, because he settled with the SEC, and which is why he's a family office now.
Yeah, I know, and I think Leon Cooperman. Listen, these guys, I like them as stock pickers, all of them. When they start discussing global macro, which I'm never impressed by them. But I do. Leon Cooper is a very bright guy and a very good stock picker. There's a lot of gray areas that a lot of people walk in.
Well, you know what, Ira? Here's something I've come to understand with respect to stock picking. Okay, you could be a great stock picker. But you could be fishing as a value manager, or you could just be fishing in the wrong lake or pond. So here's the saying: you better do macro because macro will do you.
I'm a top-down guy, Angelo. That's where I begin, and I'll be the first to admit how I was on Wall Street week twice with Mario Gabelli, and I said, hey, you know what? Bottom up. I wouldn't even, I don't even know where to begin, and I begin top down, and I still believe that macro, from my perspective, leads me to some very, very high quality trades and earlier than the bottom.
Ira, that is exactly my MO as well. Figure out what's going on in global macro and work your way from the top down, because, you'll identify the sector or sectors or groups of stocks or industry groups, whatever it is, that should benefit from whatever is starting to happen in the global macro world.
Right.
As opposed to being some, I don't know, small cap value manager or a financials manager, right? Yep. And I don't care how great of a financials manager are. Your clock is getting cleaned in this global macro setup.
It's why my favorite bank right now is UBS, and that's where I'm going. And and I had J.P. Morgan, and Judd was in this room. We discussed it for a few years, and it was a really good play. You know what? But I found it via global macro. That's why the play made perfect sense to me. Same with KSU. I always start top down and then work my way to look at it and go, okay, let me take about its debt structure, its equity funding. There's a lot of ways to look at it, but to me, I don't pretend to hold a candle to these guys, but once I figure out my overall panoramic view, so to speak, I can go dig, as I'm doing right now with the ACT stocks and with the FCX. I mean, it's totally from a global macro perspective.
Agreed, 100%.
I didn't think we'd find, absolutely we're in, I knew that we would be. But this election, that's why that piece is a very interesting piece about Joe Kennedy III. Very interesting. It's loaded with stuff. And what people don't understand is that the Democratic Party has to wear some of this And as you know, as somebody like AOC and others start gaining influence, you know, that's what makes you powerful in politics is your ability to trade that influence for policy positions. That's your leverage. That's why you do. That's why you go out and raise money. That's why people put together these PACs so they have money to disperse. It's the influence that comes with it. And
Yeah.
if you work to get somebody elected and can really, and you can really see that your input has led to their being elected, you gain a lot of currency.
Yeah. Interesting stuff.
Oh, we are in some major areas here of interest as far as I'm concerned. Major.
Well, it's going to be a busy fall.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
Hey, Ira, have you noticed that pretty much the entire commodity space, right, has pretty much broadened out, with the weaker dollar? At first it was a little herky jerky,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
in the past week or so, okay, granted, there may be, export stuff with corn or soybeans, which I know nothing about.
Right.
Okay. But you can see that the declining dollar, if you just focus on weaker dollar equals stronger commodities, which is the way I play it, you guys know the ins and outs of the weather and all that other stuff. I don't, but I just look at it like I can buy commodities by watching their prices, watching their matrix levels, but I know that with a weaker dollar, I've got the wind at my back.
That's right. You know what? I'm glad you're saying this, Angelo, because I drove into the city, as I said before that. I had coffee with Judd posted the hit that I did with him. So it's public a year ago. It's actually 13 months ago.
It was an unbelievable piece.
That was a great piece, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
He is really a bright guy. I'm trying to get him to come out to join the
hit parade.
a daily Zoom. I told him this morning, I said, you'd really like this group. It's a sophisticated group. You could add whatever you want. But if you watch that with Credelli really handles him very well. And he's a bright guy worth listening to. Forget the other stuff on there, but our 20 minutes or 16, 17 combined is really worth a look. And that was a year ago.
And it's still relevant.
It's relevant.
All over again.
It's relevant. That's right. It's still relevant. It's still relevant.
I mean, Andy does a great job of
yes, he does.
These people.
And in the last year, Goldman's only changed their mind 8 times.
Yeah, and when he talked about that, think about it.
Goldman doesn't even have a commodities desk anymore, I don't think.
Yeah,
no, they do. They do.
Or I mean, whatever's left is like a shadow of its former self.
Right, but like Morgan Stanley, others have given it was just like in 2003 when Stan O'Neill was the CEO of Merrill Lynch, and he closed the commodity, and I'm going, and I said, I know people who work there. I said, he's out of his mind. This is now just going to get interesting. But for the previous year, they hadn't made any money, so he was trying to shore up that the P&L. So they let it go. Unbelievable.
Yeah, well, here's what he said. When you listen to what he said at the bottom of every one of these troughs of these big sell-offs in 07, 08, and again, we just had one in March, you take that low and platinum doubles. The low is $560, and platinum could go to, according to him, $1,100, $1,200.
Yeah.
Ira, here's one other thing that I have on my radar, especially today, that is telling me that I need to be keeping my eye on the dollar. for a higher dollar, and it's the VIX in emerging markets. It's ripping today,
You know
and
what?
it's been rising. It's been rising over the last few days.
Okay.
So
Let-
that just makes me more aware.
let me go grab the piece if I can still find it. It was an FT piece, and I'll send it to Judd, and he can post it, and then take a look at it, and see what you think about it, because then. Let me find it.
Chile's down with strong copper. Okay, that makes sense.
And you saw that piece I sent on Taiwan. I know Judd posted it,
Yeah, about
right?
Taiwan. Yeah, that was great.
That's exactly what I've been crowing about for months and months. I took Neil Ferguson to task for not discussing that with Kissinger in that interview that he did. That was exactly what they got to, right?
Right.
Because Hong Kong's a sideshow. It is just amazing. You know what? I really, no wonder I don't fucking watch the media. I've had like enough. I just can't. I can't.
You're wasting your time, for sure.
I don't watch it. I have not watched it in so long. It just solidifies my view.
I had a small long in Taiwan, Ira. Made some money. I took it off. Was it last week? I took it off and I haven't gone back.
Yeah.
When did I
why?
take it?
You got out of it.
When
Good
did
shot.
I got out. I was in and out of it a couple of times, but my last one I got out August 12th. I think it's higher.
Angela, that's why we're traders.
But I don't care that it's higher.
Because
Let's
No,
see.
it's lower, Angelo.
Oh wait.
If you
Yeah,
got
let me
out,
look.
you got out at 45. It's already a couple of % lower.
Oh, you know what? You're right. I got out at 45.40.
Okay, well,
40.
okay.
I got out. I scaled out 45.73 and 45.40. Oh shit! It's 43.85.
Okay, Jeff.
Okay.
This is coming to you right now. Okay, you can post it. This is the article from last night. So you can post it, and this is directly right to Angelo because they're in that same mindset. Oh shit. Awesome.
Oh, yeah. Was this the same article I put in this morning?
I don't know if you did
The
or
AM
not.
look?
I don't know. I'm giving it back to you. So
Okay. Stan sent me something this morning, but I couldn't because it was restricted.
Judd, I got to step away for 10 minutes. I'll be back.
yeah, I'm shutting down. I got to go to the Apple store and take care of
All
something.
right. Have fun. Wear your mask.
I always wear. I am. This morning when I wore my mask. I walked probably a mile and a half, 2 miles. I wear my mask. I know I look like ridiculous, but I don't care. Okay.
The gym wants us to wear a mask. I just can't.
I can't. I go outside.
I can't.
But,
Different article.
but when I play golf, I walk. Since March, I only walk. Whether I push a pull, whether I have a pull cart or carry my clubs, I'm walking. That keeps me distant from a lot of people. It's like, it's like, having sex during the time of syphilis. No. I mean,
Right.
You don't know who you're, I play golf with 20 idiots every Sunday.
Yeah. You have no idea where they've been.
That's a term of endearment, by the way. They're idiots because I've known them my whole life, most of them. If I gave you the names, Judd, some of you'd be laughing. It's just
Somebody I know, someone I know who's listening to this conversation right now, affectionately calls his peeps his jidruls. And I'm not going to say who.
It's Martin.
Well,
Must
as
you?
my, Angelo, Angelo, I know you'll appreciate this. As my kids would hear around the dinner table, he's such a jamoke. My kids love that word.
Oh yeah. Well, that.
He's such a jamoke.
All right. That's as far as we're going to take this.
Yes, we are. Okay. All right.